The man went hunting on his family farm, but accidentally struck oil in the marsh. At first he thought it was a sewer leak, but the next minute an oil company helicopter flew in. They bought the entire farm for $1 billion, making Mark rich overnight. He told his son to drive home quickly, but the son was so excited he forgot to brake and crashed straight into the backyard toilet, almost sending Grandma flying. Then the whole family hurried to pack, ready to move to a mansion in the city. But Grandma refused to leave. The next moment Grandma was tied into the car, and the family set off, but they hadn't driven far. Thankfully, Grandma was okay. Once in the city, they drove too slowly and quickly caused a traffic jam. The driver gave him a rude hand gesture. They thought it was how city people greeted each other and waved back enthusiastically. A man in the car behind saw the whole thing. He wanted to confront them, but saw a whole row of the same gesture. Angrily, he pulled out a gun. Mark thought it was another greeting, so he politely waved back with his shotgun. The man sped away. Soon they arrived at the mansion. Mark started looking around his new home, but the bank manager saw them. Seeing the family acting suspicious, he quickly called the police. Officers arrived soon after. They approached the door with weapons drawn. Before the family could react, a smoke grenade was tossed inside. The daughter kicked it right back out. Soon the police were blinded by smoke, and the family was arrested. Though confused, they smiled and cooperated. Luckily, the sheriff confirmed their identity. They were indeed the owners. The bank manager fainted on the spot. Later, he apologized to Mark, but Mark wasn't angry. He actually appreciated the manager's caution. In the end, the manager kept Mark's business, and the family lived happily ever after. The driver opened the iron door and told the gorilla to push the truck. But despite using all its strength, the truck didn't move an inch. He ran to check the driver's cabin and found the driver hadn't released the handbrake. Once the brake was off, the gorilla quickly got the truck moving. The truck picked up speed on the downhill slope, and soon the gorilla couldn't keep up. Just as the gorilla looked desperate, it suddenly spotted a bicycle. Then it started chasing the truck. But because the brakes failed, it crashed right into the slowing truck. It turned out the truck had a flat tire, forcing the driver to stop. He planned to change the tire by the roadside, but unexpectedly, the driver didn't know how to fix it. The gorilla couldn't stand watching. It brought over a new tire to replace the flat. The gorilla skillfully used the jack and started loosening the lug nuts. Soon it had put on a new tire and tightened all the nuts properly. They thought they'd finally reached their destination, but the truck ran out of gas halfway. Luckily, there was a gas station nearby. Just as the tank was almost full, the driver had only one coin. The attendant immediately threatened to call the police. Suddenly, the driver noticed a circus poster. He saw a passerby holding a toy monkey and remembered he had a real one in the truck. So a dancing gorilla appeared at the gas station. After several hours of performance, they finally earned enough for the gas. Then they continued their journey, but didn't expect the road ahead to be so steep. The gorilla was knocked out instantly. The driver rushed the truck to the zoo, carrying the gorilla to see a doctor. What he didn't expect was the doctor had never treated a real animal. After listening for a long time, he couldn't find a heartbeat. So the doctor pulled out a huge needle and stabbed the gorilla with it. The gorilla instantly regained its energy. Then the driver delivered the gorilla to its destination. While waiting for the client to pay, the gorilla suddenly removed its costume head. It turned out to be an international fraudster who disguised as a gorilla to evade capture. The rich man then boarded a yacht to escape, while the driver chased frantically for his payment. The rich man pulled out a flare gun, but the driver threw a banana at him. And so, the billionaire who stole billions from banks was finally caught. The driver received a $1 million reward for helping solve the case. The man climbed the ladder with a chainsaw, but lost his balance. In that critical moment, he had a clever idea. He strapped the running chainsaw to his waist. Unfortunately, the chainsaw cut the ladder in half. He finally managed to get onto the roof. The chainsaw nearly sliced his friend's head off. The angry friend grabbed the chainsaw and immediately swung it toward the man's head. But the friend was still furious. He picked up a nearby hammer and swung the hammer at him. Just then a nun arrived, telling the three to fix the roof quickly. Not only did they not listen, the hammer went flying toward the nun. The nun downstairs was completely enraged. She said she would go up and teach them a lesson, but discovered the ladder was broken. Right at that moment, one of them accidentally removed the safety latch from the large bell. The bell instantly fell toward the nun's head. Hearing the noise, they quickly looked down. They saw the nun lying motionless on the ground. They hurried downstairs to help, but the ladder completely collapsed. Two companions fell down the stairs. The nun who just woke up got knocked out again. When the two looked behind them, they found the man stuck on the stairs. To prevent the nun from getting hurt again, they quickly pulled her to a safer spot, but made her hit a fire hydrant. The man couldn't hold on and fell, landing right on top of the nun. Seeing the nun unconscious, a friend grabbed a bucket to splash water on her. Realizing the situation was hopeless, they quickly fled the scene, but while escaping, they crashed into someone else's ladder. The person on it fell down, landing on a group of nuns. The three looked back, thinking he was attacking the nuns. Without a word, they rushed to beat him up. The nuns quickly tried to stop them, explaining he was the new director, there to tell them the orphanage was about to close down. They needed to raise $1 million to get through this difficult situation. Hearing this, the three immediately decided to go to the city to earn money. They rode their oversized homemade bicycle, hooked onto a passing truck, trying to hitch a ride, but the rope got tangled in a rear wheel. And so, under the nuns' looks of secondhand embarrassment, the three began their hilarious life in the city. The mouse was sleeping. Suddenly a nail burst through the wall. The mouse was so scared it scrambled around, but the nail kept chasing it. Turns out Mark was doing renovations. A nail suddenly blocked the mouse's path. The little mouse was completely trapped. It seemed about to meet its end, but then the nail got stuck. Mark picked up a hammer. Just as he was about to swing, his brother stopped him. The mouse narrowly escaped. The two were carrying a bathtub upstairs. The mouse quietly hid behind a bottle. Startled, the brothers stumbled backward, and they both fell into the bathtub. They slid down the stairs right out the door, not stopping until they reached the frozen lake. Just as they breathed a sigh of relief, the bathtub crashed right into the lake. Mark and his brother were furious. They set mousetraps by the door, but when they tried to leave, the door was locked and wouldn't open. They turned to look inside the room. Countless mousetraps covered the floor. They carefully leaned against the wall, but the mouse avoided every single trap. It climbed up an apron to a high ledge, then moved along a wire to a shelf. Mark and his brother were amazed. After climbing onto a can, the mouse glanced at them and jumped. A cherry fell to the floor, triggering a mousetrap, starting a chain reaction. The little mouse calmly collected food. Meanwhile, the angry brother grabbed a vacuum cleaner. He chased the mouse all the way to its hole and started vacuuming the entrance. The mouse held tightly to a wire. Suddenly, the brother felt he'd sucked up something. The water pipe behind him started spraying, and the vacuum bag began to swell. They had actually hit a sewer pipe. The brothers got excited. The vacuum bag behind them grew bigger and bigger. Meanwhile, the mouse had already run outside to watch. With a loud explosion, the brothers were covered in film. With no other choice, they called for backup. They brought home a large cat. The cat immediately started hunting the mouse, but the mouse had its own tricks. The cat got caught in a mousetrap, then was lured into a cage. Seeing its chance, the mouse chewed through a rope, and the mighty cat was defeated. The brothers then called an expert. The expert lay on the floor, observing carefully, then sent in a detection device, but the mouse bit through the wire. When the expert reconnected it, the monitor showed the car outside. The expert looked out the window and saw the mouse starting to switch. What the expert didn't know was that danger was approaching him. The killer planted a time bomb in the car, then quickly rode away on his motorcycle. The bomb was already counting down, but the man in the car had no idea. Suddenly, a bee flew into the car. Mark kept waiting to shoo it away, but it wouldn't leave. He grew more and more irritated. Stopped the car to chase the bee out. The bee landed on the hood. Mark picked up his shoe and smacked it down hard on the bee. The killer, watching from a distance, thought he had succeeded, but then he saw Mark standing by the car, completely unharmed. Mark, unaware of everything, simply thought he was lucky. Frustrated, the killer had to continue the assassination. He fired multiple shots at Mark's car, successfully hitting the gas tank. Gasoline sprayed out instantly, but Mark was inside on the phone with his wife. Next, he noticed the cigarette lighter was broken, so he casually tossed it out the window. The gasoline on the ground ignited immediately. The unlucky killer drove straight into the flames. Luckily, he jumped out just in time to save himself. Mark kept driving his leaking car forward. The boss was furious to learn a mission failed. He decided to send his top assassin. Mark had just pulled into a gas station, and the ace killer quietly followed. With a flick of his arm, a blade instantly shot out. Mark, still unaware of the danger, was casually washing his hair with a water hose. Little did he know the killer pulled out a special knockout drug and quietly crept up behind him. Unexpectedly, the drug flew right into the killer's own mouth. Lucky Mark had dodged death once again. The killer barely managed to crawl out, only to accidentally trigger the mechanism on his arm, which punctured a tire, sending him flying into the air instantly. Learning the mission had failed yet again, the boss decided this time to take matters into his own hands. He secretly broke into Mark's home. When Mark and his family returned, the boss suddenly appeared from behind a door, pointing a gun at Mark. Mark and his wife were terrified, but what the boss didn't know was that something even more devastating was about to happen.